Or if there's any volunteer would be Wait. Oui. Chanter. Yes. You're always volunteering. Appreciate that.
We thank you, Lord, for letting us be here today to attend this commissioners meeting. We ask that you give our commissioners and leaders of our entire community the strength and help that they need to do well in their positions. We thank you for another beautiful day, and we look forward to the many days ahead in San Juan County. Amen.
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 Agenda. Reading.
All right. On the agenda today, under your consent agenda items, you have the approval of the check registers for February 12th, 2022 through February 25, 2022. You have the approval of financial letter of support for USDA reimbursement grant. Approval of renewal of Economic Development Corporation of Utah 2022 annual membership for San Juan County. Item 4, approval of the letter of support to the Outdoor Recreation Grant Staff and Advisory Committee for the Friends of the Cedar Mesa. Item 5, approval of the White Mesa Election Liaison Contract with Cindy Badback. Item 6, approve the renewal of $11,124 contract with DBT Transportation Services for Administration Aviation Support Maintenance Services. Approval of the Library Services and Technology ANT Grant for Children's and Teen Book Enhancement Mini Grant. Item 8, approval to purchase Miller 260 welder for $6,329. Item 9, consideration and ratification of Ravina Talker as member of the San Juan County Board of Health. Item 10, approval of small purchases for January 26, 2022 through February 25th, 2022. Item 11, consideration and approval of the annual dust suppressant purchase. And item 12 is consideration and approval of annual chip seal oil purchase. Item 13, approval of the letter of support for entrepreneurial ecosystem in Southern Utah grant, BBBRC Phase 2. Under recognitions, presentations, and informational items, you have the Cal Black Airport Capital Improvement Program update discussion. Item 15, discussion and approval of the Surveyor's Office performing addressing services for San Juan County. Item 16, discussion about on-site data backup solutions. That'll be by Trey. Under business action, item 17, consideration and approval of landmark wayfinding contract for San Juan County. That'll be presented by Elaine. Item 18, consideration and approval of the $457,000 principal forgiveness agreement for the wastewater infrastructure design with the City of Utah Division of Drinking Water for the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. Item 19, consideration and approval for road stabilization on CR 373. This will be presented by TJ. On item 20, consideration and approval of resolution number 2022-blank, a statement of opposition regarding Utah House Bill 371, voting revisions bill. Item 21, consideration and approval of resolution number 2022, blank, a statement of opposition regarding Utah House Bill 285, which is the Open and Public Meetings Act violation. Item 22, consideration and approval of a contract with Acme Iron and Metal for scrap metal salvage and removal at the county landfill. Item 23, consideration and authorization to enter into a reimbursement agreement between the State of Utah School of Institutional Trust Lands Administration and San Juan County for the San Juan County Spanish Valley Drainage Master Plan for a total of $42,577. Item 24 is consideration and approval of Ami order agreement for aging grant, and this one will be presented by Tammy. And then item 25, consideration and approval of the San Juan County Mitigation Plan update approval award document. That one will also be presented by Tammy. And then you have your commission reports after that. Any questions?
Motion by Mr. Maryboy,
Second.
second by Mr. Adams. Any comment? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay? None. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carries. Public comment.
Okay.
Do we have any lineup? There's some written.
Okay, just as a reminder, public comments will be allowed for 3 minutes apiece. On here, just be kind and courteous on your comments. If after that 3 minutes, if you continue on, we'll either mute you if you're online or ask you to stop here in the audience. There is a feature online where you are able to raise your hand. So if you're online, if you right click on your name, you'll be able to raise your hand to indicate that you want to make a public comment, and then we will recognize you. So if not, after that, we'll open it up to the entire public to see who wants to make a public comment. With that being said, we'll turn our attention first to those members in our audience here. We do have Doug Allen, who is signed up to make a public comment. So Doug, you're first.
I'm Doug Allen from Moncel. I will first of all want to address the concerns I have with the possibility of the county eliminating public comment. I think it's very important that you allow public comment. I think it'll help the public understand that it's an open process, that you have a chance to give input to the entire county commission without having to hunt down all the 3 of you. And the second thing I want to bring up is that how much I appreciate all 3 of you being here in person today. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, now for those members that are online, I'm not seeing any hands raised. If there's anybody online who's wishing to make a public comment, go ahead and unmute yourself. I am not seeing anybody unmute themselves online. So, commissioners, that is your public comment for today.
Thank you. Include it or the 4 public comment.
Sure. That you'd received in your packet. Yeah, that was just additional information.
Okay. With that, going down, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We had comment, comment on the appointment of the health board. We had discussion. There's the San Juan County Public Health Board, and that's the recommendation that we made. So I think it's included in there.
It is.
With that, any comments, further comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? There being none, motion passed, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. With that, we go to the next item would be number 14.
Okay, item 14. So Cal Black Airport Capital Improvement Program update. I want to just bring this back to you more for information purposes and see if there was anything else you guys wanted to add to the airport. But there was a bipartisan infrastructure law. It's BIL is the acronym for it, that the Biden administration and Congress had approved for the FAA. In this bill, it awards airports an annual dollar amount that comes out from FY 2022 through FY 2026. So up until 2026, we will receive these bipartisan infrastructure law monies that can be used to and in behalf of airport development projects that increase airport safety and sustainability. So it gives us a lot more flexibility. Just as a reminder, we did receive from the COVID relief the CARES Act funds as well as the CRRSA funds, about $40,000 in one pot, almost $9,000 in another, that we were able to use for maintenance and repairs up until 2024. We still have CARES Act funds that are available that we've targeted, and we've looked at many options there at the airport to assist us in maintenance of that building. Internally, there's a water pressure system that utilizes an air bladder system that's extended. It's past its life expectancy. We need to have a plumber come back out and investigate the status of that bladder system to see if we need to replace that. If we do have to replace it, that's one use of those CARES Act funds that we would look at. Also, we do have a roof that's a membrane roof that's leaking out there that we're looking at the possibility of replacing that roof and upgrading that TPO membrane system there, utilizing those CARES Act funds, as well as we have an old gas pump that's out there that it's kind of on the fritz that we've been able to get to limp by. We may be replacing a fuel pump out there. All of those items are would qualify under a maintenance. In this bipartisan infrastructure law bill, we were notified that we would receive, if you look under the Cal Black Memorial House Crossing, $110,000 for this next year. So if it's $110,000 a year, significant contribution to our efforts to continue to maintain the Cal Black Airport. In the past, one of the requirements that the FAA has is that we create a capital improvement plan for the airport, and this is what we've submitted for the future 5 years. We've been asked, now that we receive this BIP funding to take a look at this capital improvement plan to see if we need to make any adjustments. Typically, this is adjusted every 5 years, or you can modify it annually. But really, the requirement's every 5 years. But because of these funds, they're allowing entities to relook at that to see if there's things that we need to adjust in the future. So we had originally planned 2021 was the renovation of the airport runway. If you remember, we received 100% award on that project for 2021. Unfortunately, with the bridge where half of the bridge had washed out, we weren't able to get to that project. That project was then pushed into 2022. So for 2022, our project is the Cal Black Airport surface runway replacement project. That project will begin here. March 14th is when they feel that they'll start to tear up the runway. So we'll be down several months while we go through that project. But again, it's 100% FAA funded. Super appreciative with that because we don't have to come up with a match funding in the future. There are match from the state and a match from the local, which is us, required in these projects. So because we were doing the airport runway rehab, we felt that in 2023 we would just hold steady and do nothing, just kind of keep that blank. We've used our state share as well as our annual allotments that we've built up over time to help cover the costs of the airport runway renovation. Well, now that we have this additional 110,000, we may push that blank date where we didn't do anything in 2023. We may move these up a year so that in 2023 we would be looking at the taxiway and edge lighting design. Right now, the taxiway and edge lighting is the incandescent halogen lighting that takes a lot of energy from our solar system. We would go back through and replace that with LED, upgrade the lighting systems out at the airport all into LED, so it'll save us save up money and, more importantly, the energy resource that we're lacking out there. Instead of increasing our solar system, it's easier to LED our lighting. And so we would next year design for that taxiway and edge lighting. The design on there, I didn't realize that it was going to go multiple pages on us, but $150,000 in entitlements that we would put to that. Each year we receive $150,000 from the FAA. Now we'll receive $110 on top of that. So you're looking at $260,000 sitting there next year. Of that 150 entitlement, it's 10% contribution from the state as well as the county. So of that design, we would be required to pay $7,754, so not a lot. And we would get that lighting design. The following year after that, we would go for the taxiway and taxi edge lighting construction. So the first year to design, next year construction. After that, in 2026, which we'll move this to 2025, is our AWAS system. Our AWAS system is the weather system where if you're taking a flight into Cal Black, you can call this AWAS system. It'll pretty much relay what the weather is at the ground level at the airport. So it's kind of a vital component that aircrafts, before they're landing, they utilize this AWAS system. Gives you the weather, also gives you windage, things like that are super useful. This is also on today's consent agenda item. You see the annual repairs and inspection of the AWAS system that you just agreed to the company to continue to inspect. This is something that we've been notified in the last couple of years that our AWAS system components are hard to replace. It's a computer system that runs in the background with this. They're worried about the computer system failing. I'd asked an email in the email correspondence with the company. I've asked them, do we need to move this AWAS system up closer instead of 2025, move it up to 2023 or 2024? That question is still out there, whether or not we need to look at replacing the AWAS system sooner rather than later. A lot of kind of your smaller airports don't have AWAS systems, so they're limited to the flights that can come in. We're fortunate that we've had an AWAS system here for years, but it's getting to the point where they cannot get the components to replace, and they're worried, like I mentioned, that computer system failing. If that goes, then they will be calling into the airport operator to try to figure out what the weather is. And a lot of times, if it's after hours, they will not be at the airport manning that phone call. And so we're kind of worried about that one. And then in 2027, we had scheduled, so as we replace the asphalt of the runway here in 2021, 2022, we would come back in with pavement preservation. So basically you would go through and put a sealant over that runway just to extend the longevity. This is typically a 5 to 7 year process that you would come back in and rejuvenate the surface treatment, or give it a surface treatment to extend the life of that asphalt on that runway. This will save us from having to replace it sooner rather than later in the future, especially where it's so hot out there at the Cal Black. So I wanted to at least present this to you. This is what we have right now in our plan. There has been some thoughts to the taxiway right now. We feel it's a good surface, good treatment. We did crack seal. TJ and his crew from the road department performed the crack sealing last year on that. So it does have some cracks through that. That's just normal expansion cracks that are through there. We have those sealed, but they're really not recommending complete replacement right now of that taxiway. If you remember right, and it's probably hard to remember, but in the capital master plan in the future, it called for a taxiway renewal replacement. We would go through and this is where we park the airplanes. We would go through and renew that whole entire taxiway area, open it up for more hangars to be installed in that area, and that's kind of a future use if we can get more hangar rentals. I know that there was one gentleman that had entertained the notion of placing a hangar out here at Cal Black where he could have a full-time mechanic, and then planes could fly in, get their mechanical services done there at this airport. Apparently, if you're a good mechanic and you have the availability to fly a plane and ownership of the plane, they will travel wherever a good mechanic is to get their plane maintained. So even though this is kind of seems like at the remote area, it's like that would work perfect here at Cal Black. There's opportunities with that, but that taxiway would have to be extended out and opened. We have some limited fencing in a gated area that we cannot get planes through. And so in the future, there's that possibility, and it talks about that in that overall Cal Black master plan. But with that, commissioners, I don't know if you have any questions or any feedback or suggestions other than regular maintenance. This is kind of what our consultants are also recommending, Javiation, who we also have an annual contract through that helps us mitigate these waters of operating and owning an airport.
These now in this project list, you're quoting 2020 or something, and I see on the one up above, it was years 24, 25, 26, 27. Is that the original submission?
This was the original.
Okay, and so we're just updating that.
Yeah, we would accelerate that instead of, so where we were getting 150,000 a year of entitlement, we banked, if you remember right, we banked 150 for multiple years to where we received enough to for that pavement replacement project so that we didn't have to come up with as much money on our behalf. There were several instances where we loaned that money out to other airports. I think Spanish Fork was an airport that we loaned our entitlement out to, and they paid that entitlement money back for that project. Well, our thoughts originally before these other funds came in is, well, let's bank our entitlement for 1 year and do nothing. So we would have 150,000 going into 2024. And with that entitlement, we, the state or us, wouldn't have to come up with as much money. We already have 150,000 sitting there for that project. And so originally we were going to wait a year, bank our entitlement, and then continue forward. However, with 110,000 sitting there for 2022 and 2023, it's like, well, let's go ahead and continue on with design in 2023 instead of waiting a year just to get entitlement. And so we'll just use that 110,000, which comes in 2022. And so we'll just accelerate these sooner rather than holding off a year and doing nothing. Any other questions?
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Do we anticipate increase or the same level of usage, flights in and out due to
Good question. The low water, the water
the water going low
Yeah.
and
Yep.
the department is issuing limited launching pads and
Yeah,
so
yep.
forth.
Yeah.
So
Great question.
how would we anticipate
Yeah, that would
positive outcome?
that would definitely impact that. It certainly will. Right now, this airport, and we received the reports on it, continues to be an economic development opportunity and engine for the county, where this is an economic development resource for the county, and that's been determined by the state. Is we get flights that come in here, not only specific to Lake Powell, but also in general aviation. Each week, every Wednesday, they receive a flight that comes out of Cedar City Flight School. They go over to House Crossing. If the employee is working that day, she'll make them Navajo tacos, and then they eat lunch and then fly back to Cedar City. So I think that type of use will continue. The Lake Powell utilization, that unless we get a lot more water in there, I think all efforts that you typically tend to see, that tourism that Lake Powell brings in, it is going to be a little bit hampered until we get more water. Hopefully we can get some more snow and more runoff that'll go in there, but it's going to be multiple years. But even with that, because we've taken FAA funds in the past for this airport, we are required to continue to maintain.
Okay. So, in spite of all the conditions of low level of water, that would impact any. We have to maintain.
We have to maintain. We've taken FAA money.
Spend it or lose it, I guess that would be.
Yeah. I would say spend it or spend it. So it's like one of those things that it's a gift that keeps on requiring. And so unfortunately, or fortunately, it's still, I know that there is an interest, for economic development out here. And it's a lot of it, when you're looking at economic development wise, you do the things today that'll affect the future. And so if you can implement certain services out there now, or you begin implementing certain services, you're really looking to the future to impact. And so, say, for example, with some of the land out there, if you're able to find a developer willing to develop and invest in the Cow Black area, knowing that someday you're going to have more water there and they'll be able to utilize that property, that development for that future use. And so there is interest in that, in the property that we could lease out for, a gas station or a restaurant right there, because they don't have that there at this Halls Crossing. And so if we can utilize more of that opportunity and position ourselves now for that future opportunity, that future growth, then why not? And so there are some investors that are super interested in investing out there right now.
With that, any further question or comment? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next,
Okay, item 15 is discussion and approval of the surveyor's office performing addressing services for the San Juan County. This is when you pass the budget as well as some staffing for the surveyor's office. We had kind of always been pushing addressing, especially with the retirement of the former county assessor. We knew that once he retired, the addressing was going to be in flux, and we had looked at the surveyor's office performing that. So this letter just kind of acknowledges that our desire as the commission to have the surveyor's office perform the addressing for the county, so that this kind of helps concrete the process where in ordinance by code, his elected duties do not require addressing. This letter acknowledges that, but it also acknowledges the commission's willingness to have him perform this duty for the county.
I think this would be really helpful.
question or motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further question, comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay? 3-0. Motion carries. On-site data backup solution. IT director.
Okay. So I've been working with this company called Trenzio for a couple months now. They've got a backup server solution that they have loaned to us so that we can figure out how much data we actually have. I've felt it kind of a high priority item that we need to have offsite. It says on-site on the agenda, but it is actually an on-site, off-site backup solution. Currently, we do not have any off-site backup. If there were a fire in this building, all the county's data is gone. If we were to have a ransomware attack, we would have to pay out because we don't have any protection for that. The price of attacks has actually gone up dramatically in the last couple of years. Used to be they'd only ask for $30,000. It's gone up to $300,000 from what I've researched. If we had to pay that out, it would be detrimental for the county to have to pay that. So when I went to UAC this fall, this company was there, Trinzio, and they're on the call as well if we have any questions for them. They've been working on pricing, and we've got 3 different prices from them. 2 of them have, if we just do a leased machine server, which would cost us about $500 a month on top of what we have. We have about 4 terabytes worth of data that we're looking at to back up. And that would provide us, for every terabyte for archive data, if we have data that we'd want to archive, which we do have quite a bit. We have Google takeouts of previous employees that we've had to store on the server. So I've put those as, archive data. That's only $20 a month for every terabyte that we use. If we only want it to be local, we don't want it to be replicated online, then we can pay only $50 a month. If we want it to be replicated, it's about $200 per terabyte that we want. And we've figured out that we have about 4 terabytes worth of data that we need to back up. This includes plats, all the data for the recorder's office, for the surveyor's office, clerk's office, and trying to get more departments involved in that. We're also adding a new GIS server, which we're going to want to add to backing up. What this includes is we can go back any files that we may have. We had an issue with the server a few months ago where I had to restore a backup that I had. Well, I hadn't created a backup previous to that, so we needed to find a way to restore data. This allows for us to be able to, time not wasted. It takes minutes to restore data from the system, as compared to it took me probably 3 days to restore the data that the clerk's office needed to be able to continue their work. And so not only is it time, the ability to save time on backups, but we also have the assurance that if there's anything to happen in this building, or if we were to have a ransomware attack, that our data is safe. Any questions?
Question, Mr. Adam.
Is this what you want to do?
It is. It is.
Is this your recommendation?
It's my recommendation. They've been very helpful. They've worked with me very well. We've had some issues with the machine that we've got, and they've worked tirelessly to try to get that resolved. Any questions I've had, they've been right there to answer them.
Because I'm not going to pretend I know anything about IT. Mac, have you got any concerns?
Which one are we looking at? There's 3 quotes here that you have. I think overall, Trey's absolutely right. If you look at, we purchased a server using CARES Act funds for Spillman, which Spillman is the sheriff's system that keeps their body camera footage, any pictures, case files, things like that, the log of each arrest or investigation. We purchased that server, and it was about just over $8,000 for the server. And then we've got to get the Microsoft portion to that. So you're looking around $9,000-$10,000 for a server. This system, although it's a monthly cost, is I think it'll be a lot better than going with a hard server to back up a server, because those servers also die, and we have to schedule server replacement in the mix. And so going to the cloud, but yet still having hard servers, it's kind of, we're diversifying. but yeah, we're backing up our data, which is probably the most critical.
So is our monthly cost 1,040 or is it 710?
So
Or
the
both?
1,040 is our most expensive. What we're looking at. That's us leasing the machine that we have. That's also putting a lot more into online as well as local backup.
So that's 12,000 a year, right?
yeah, it'd be about
Approximately.
12,000 a year. Now for the $700 one, that's still leasing the equipment, but that's trying to put more into just being more local here, as well as archive, trying to save as much money as we can. I don't necessarily recommend that, but I have been trying to keep the pricing as low as possible so that we can get the approval that we need
Sometimes
on
when you
this.
try to save money, it ends up costing you in the end.
It does. It
Yeah,
does
especially
very
with-
Let's
much.
don't just
With
get the cheapest.
IT.
I agree with that. I just nervous with coming and saying, "Hey, we need to spend this money,"
Yeah.
because I know where
So
the
So which
have you
one is
county is.
budgeted for it, or is it just CARES Act money, or what?
No, we have no CARES Act money.
No, there's no CARES Act money,
So you
and
budgeted for it.
not this year.
Okay.
So this would be something that we would have to look at extra on top of what we have. And then there is another proposal, like I said, trying to keep the price down as much as possible. We would purchase the equipment. This is the $410 month per month, and then the $2,600 price on that. That's us purchasing the machine that we have and having 1 year of support on that, and then also trying to keep the cost down on the replication.
So which one do you want?
I would prefer the $1,000 one myself.
1,000 a month.
Yeah, the $1,000 a month, because they replace anything that goes wrong with it.
300.
But it's not in your budget.
No, it's not on my
So where
budget.
would you anticipate getting the money for?
Question,
Okay.
when you're trying to save data, and you're talking about purchasing some type of a gadget that would store information,
Mm-hmm.
I hope that instrument's not going to be in here, in this building.
There.
Like you said, in case a fire
Mm-hmm.
breaks out, all the information, data would be
Yeah.
no way of retrieving.
Mm-hmm.
So
So there will
you
be a
have to
machine.
be,
Yeah.
places somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So there will be a machine that it will be here locally, but there's also what they have called here the replication service. So it makes a copy of the machine here locally, and then it also replicates that online. But that raises the cost higher the more we do the replication online. So, for example, this 1 terabyte replication service, they charge about $200 a month per terabyte, and we're using, about 4 terabytes worth of data right now. So, for us to have everything online, it'd be great. That's why I want to go with the $1,000, because that's putting more of everything online. Whereas trying to save the money, we go with the $400 one. With the $2,600 for the upfront for the machine, we're not putting as much online. The cost goes up the more we put online, if that makes sense.
mhm.
So it's just a balancing act. How much do we want to put online? I've tried to put more of the critical data that we can't be without online. So that's where we're looking at, like the $410 a month, trying to put the more critical data. It'd be great if we could have everything online, so that if we did have a fire here, then, or flood or whatever damaged all the equipment in the server room, that all of that data would be recoverable. But there again, we have to deal with the fact that
Need a motion? And
Which-
also
which one
in
again?
your motion,
$1,000 one?
which one of the three?
I'd recommend we go with the
All of the money.
$1,000 one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay.
So Kenneth's motion, $1,000 would be,
It's actually $1,040.
Motherboard.
oh yeah, 1,040. Be donated to Trends. Second by Bruce Adams, yes.
No.
Woody says, kick the motherboard out of the rain.
We're gonna have to figure out which department.
Any further question? None? All
Aye.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? 3 in favor, 0 opposed, with. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Next would be business action. Elaine.
Consideration approval.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Landmark wayfinding.
I thought you were still sitting way in the back. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. This wayfinding project was originally the funding, securing the funding had begun under the former director, and it was UDOT Technical Planning Assistance funding that had been granted to the county for wayfinding. So the total amount that was allocated to San Juan County was $46,615. And our county match is $3,385, which would give us a total of $50,000 that is available for wayfinding signs. We had 4 submissions that came in: Landmark, Surroundings, Rainbow Sign and Design, and Merget. Were the 4 proposals that came in, and after a review, I went through all of the documents and all their RFP information, and based on some of the projects that they had done in the past, I felt that Landmark Design would be best suited. They had worked with Uinta County, wayfinding a master plan. They worked with Salt Lake City and Parks, and open space and trail signage. They worked with Taylorsville signage master plan and Logan wayfinding system master plan. So looking at what they had done, I felt that they would be the best company to start working on wayfinding. We have a long way to go with wayfinding, but I think wayfinding for us in San Juan County is extraordinarily important because of the vastness of the county that we're in, and the wayfinding would really provide direction for visitors coming into the county, and especially with Bears Ears, the status now being enlarged, as well as I was just working on the Old Spanish Trail. I've had conversations about that. I really think that start the job done for wayfinding is really, we need to start it. So it probably will take about a year to get the analysis. As groups weigh in from the public, they'll come down to the area, go through the area, determine what type of signage we need, come up with designs, work with UDOT. It's a pretty lengthy process and involved process. So, but I am recommending that we approve the contract with Landmark Designs to begin this wayfinding project, which is much needed in San Juan County.
Okay. Mr. Adams.
Well, I think if there's anything that we lack in the county more than good signage and interpretation and ability to find particular sites in the county, this is a need that really exists for us. And if Elaine feels like Landmark has presented the best proposal to solve that problem for us as a county, then I would agree with her and make a motion that we approve it.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Who were the other, bidders before
Surroundings was another company, Rainbow Sign and Design, and Merge were the other three companies that submitted. There were 4 proposals submitted, but based on all of their submissions, and I went through everything to see what their content of their work was in the areas. I felt that with Landmark, I looked at Uinta too specifically because they did a lot with the dinosaur, with historic archaeological sites, and I felt that that they had the best approach, and I liked their design. So nothing, as we work through this project, nothing's set in stone. We'll move through it. Everybody will weigh in. You'll probably all be included in this process because they want as much input as possible. There'll be a succession of meetings, a lot of meetings with different individuals across the county because wayfinding is so important in order for people to not get lost and have clear direction from, a main highway as they travel and traverse through our county. It's really important that we have the signage that will explain to them clearly where to go because obviously you can't have a lot of words on a sign. It needs to be concise and the direction clear. So I think with what they produced in their other projects,
Okay.
looks like it could work here.
Okay, I second the motion.
Okay. There could be a sign says Indian country across the road.
I'm going to have them put your address on the sign that they can find you.
With a vibrate signal
Yeah.
on it.
Right.
Geocode.
Okay, if there's no further question, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay? None, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Next,
She said off there.
18, oh.
There's a fire.
The British are coming.
Where's the,
Oh, where are you?
where's the howler?
So,
I think this particular,
item 18.
business action is pretty
So-
much straightforward, and we're kind
Yeah.
of familiar with the work, and I would
The 18,
openly say that I would make a motion.
Mr. Kenneth Mayor Board motions to approve the 18. It has been, it's an ongoing project, so
Yeah, I'll second
fully
that.
understand.
Mhm.
Mr. Adams, second.
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, also opposed, nay. Motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 19,
Do you know, Mac, could that make the list? The appropriations list, the wastewater project?
No, it's tucked in the governor's
Oh, okay.
bill, so it's not a specific one.
It's not a specific.
No, it was, and it's the lieutenant governor that's really helping us get the funds for that. A lot of ARPA funds will go to assist that project. But
Mr. Adair.
Morning,
Yeah,
Commissioners.
go.
This is just a continuation of the project that was approved last year. It's a 16-mile project. This is the other 8. Got the new bids come in. It's a little bit more expensive. Just we have a little more miles that we're doing, plus the inflation of products.
But it will complete the West Summit Road project.
Yep.
I make a motion we approve.
Second.
Mr. Adams' motion. Mr. Mayor Boy second. Any further question?
Aye,
It's an ongoing project.
Yeah.
So with that, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, nay? 0. Motion carries.
Me-
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Me and Kenneth promised these people out here we'd fix that road about 18 years ago.
Yeah,
It's scheduled to start the 15th of April. So
Okay.
we should be
Promise
done
is
by middle of May. We should be
Good.
done with that road.
half done.
Hopefully we get enough snow it pushes us back.
And just so you guys know, this road foreman's doing one heck of a good job for the county.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I'd
Maryboy.
like to make a directive that, Bruce holds a ribbon cutting ceremony at the time when this project is over.
That's all right.
Nah, off the record.
Next, 20.
Okay, number 20 is consideration and approval of resolution number 2022 is blank a statement of opposition regarding Utah House Bill 371. This is voting revisions that the bill had actually failed in committee, so it's
Yeah, they're
no
dead.
longer a bill.
They're dead.
And so you have this resolution
I don't think either one of them will pass.
before you.
There's
One's in.
possibility of
Dusting it off.
what did they call it? Reviving
Yeah,
in the future. So we'd have to put a statement in there before they resuscitate the action again. So with that, do I hear a motion?
make a motion, Mr. Chair. As you notice that item number 21 falls in the same category with the same need. And without hurting the voters in our area, I fully agree with you. I don't trust anybody, and I don't care what shape or form this thing is set. I think it's something that we need to take a position on, so therefore I'd like to make a motion on 2021. If there's a problem, let's deal with 21.
20?
20.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I'd like to have some discussion. I'm not going to second it.
I'll second it then. Go ahead, Mr. Adams.
Just for transparency's sake, I don't really care, but I think it ought to be part of the record. Who wrote the resolutions? Did the county staff write it? Or did somebody else write it? Just so we're transparent about the whole thing.
I can answer that question.
Okay.
This was not drafted by the county attorney or county staff.
It what?
This was not drafted by county attorney or county staff.
Okay. I
The,
don't think it's a big deal, but I just like to know who wrote it.
the main focus of this 371 is to block and create discriminatory practice continued
Yes,
to limit voters' participation. It's just totally out of this world. And it doesn't matter who writes the resolution. We've been confronted, our constituents, from the south or be totally blocked up with this, if this bill was to pass. And what I'm saying is there's no limit to what they can do up at the state. In
Yes.
fact, the person that introduced was the former commissioner here.
I understand that.
And that totally breaks a lot of spirit, so to speak, across the Navajo Nation. You work against your own constituents. How does that work? So that's the, I just want to say that in terms of, I don't want to see it continue. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Well said, sir.
Mr. Adams.
Well, I'm not here to debate the good, bad, and ugly of this particular bill. But I will point out that when the county implemented vote by mail, the Navajo Nation and the Navajo commissioners were against vote by mail. They thought it was discriminating against the Navajo people to make them vote by mail. And now we have a resolution that wants vote by mail to remain in place. And that's fine. I thought vote by mail was a great option for our Navajo people when it was first proposed by the county clerk, which was Norman Johnson. But I remember very strong opposition to vote by mail from the Navajo Nation and from the Navajo commissioners. All I'm asking today, and it's not going to make any difference how we vote on this thing, I'm just asking a simple question. Who wrote the resolution? Just for a matter of public record, so that the public knows who wrote the resolution. That's all I'm asking.
And I think Mr. McDonald clarified that.
He clarified that the county did not, but it didn't say who wrote the resolution.
Well, in reference to the statement Mr. Adams made in terms of the Navajo opposing mail-in, did you know that since then we have educated ourselves to some levels of,
Fantastic.
and that is the reason why we don't want it stopped.
And I agree 100%.
So,
But I just, if you don't want to disclose who wrote the resolution, that becomes the part of the public record, and that's fine.
that's the option. So,
But I just want to be transparent with the public. We disclose whether the county
Well,
staff, Mr. McDonald, whoever
the
writes the
past-
resolutions.
the past, Mr. Adams, there was a lot of legal expenditures which the public didn't even realize until later, some years later, months later, and that is the past.
Well,
And
that has nothing to do with this resolution. I mean, we can talk
you're
about,
talking about transparency.
yeah,
So how does it not matter those actions that were taken without the knowledge of the public, expenditure exhausting the savings of the county's money?
very transparent. Everybody knew that was going on. Newspaper wrote about the lawsuits. The newspaper wrote about everything. I don't want to debate all of this, Willie. I just asked a simple question. If you don't want to disclose who wrote the resolution, let's move on.
Okay,
That's a
move on.
matter
All those in
that's a
favor
matter
say
of
aye.
record.
Aye.
Aye also. Vote against? Nay?
I vote nay because we don't know who wrote the resolution.
Okay. Motion passed, 2 in favor, 0, 1 opposed. Excuse me. Next,
Okay, this is consideration and approval of resolution number 2022 blank, a statement of opposition regarding Utah House Bill 285, Open and Public Meetings Act violations. We're on item 21 for those of the public that's following along.
do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I'm not going to second it for the same reason. I don't know who wrote the resolution.
So with that, same thing.
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also.
I vote no,
Opposed?
no for the same reason.
Motion carries. 22.
Okay, consideration and approval of a contract with Acme Iron and Metal for scrap metal salvage and removal at the county landfill. Just as we continue the process, you had entered into the notice of award last commission meeting to be awarded to Acme Iron and Metal after we had gone through the request for proposal. Their proposal back was $80 a net ton. This is just formalizing the contract for that process. We don't know the tonnage yet, how much we'll make on this project until the guy comes in and removes it all and weighs in. And we'll know how much we make off of our scrap iron and metal out there that's been piling up for years.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any question? $80 a ton.
$80 a ton is how much he'll pay us. And now is the best time to do it because the value of metal obviously is increased.
Increase, yeah.
And so we feel that this is a pretty good opportunity.
With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. 0. Motion carried.
Okay, the next
Next item.
Let's see, we are on 23, consideration and authorization to enter into the reimbursement agreement between the State of Utah School of Trust Lands or Institutional Trust Lands Administration in San Juan County for the San Juan County Spanish Valley Drainage Master Plan. We had last year went to CIB and received a grant from CIB for half of the costs of this project. The estimate came back a little bit more than what we had originally anticipated as we got back with the engineer. Sitla has already gone out and solicited the engineer. They had done a lot of work in the past, a little bit north of, or to the south, I think the Kens Lake area, as well as a little bit to the north of their properties. This will complete the whole entire Spanish Valley area of San Juan County to where we can hopefully from this implement a drainage master plan. I know that with some of the development that's taken place in Spanish Valley, our road department has come back and pointed out several concerns that they have from developers who now want to turn back the roads within their development to the county, but the drainage and everything floods out other areas. And so we're super hesitant to take on any other roads until we figure out what's going on with the drainage in this area. We're hoping one of the outcomes from this as well is kind of the precursor to the FEMA floodplain map that we can get in the area. This also coincides with what everything that Tammy is doing with the floodplain mitigation above out of Pack Creek. And so all of this kind of goes hand in hand, and this is the contract that gets us one step closer to having it all figured out.
Okay.
I'll make a
There.
motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any further question? There be none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 2 in favor, 0 opposed. 24.
Next one's consideration and approval of non-AMI order agreement for aging grant. This is Tammy. I'll get to you, Tammy. Hold on.
Thank you. Back in November, I brought a grant opportunity to the commissioners, and they approved and signed that for us to apply for the grant. It was officially awarded yesterday. Publicly, there were 5 entities in the United States that were awarded this grant, and we are one of the ones that got the grant. It is a data across health sector grants, and so what we're trying to do with the grant is get our data to talk to Blue Mountain Hospital, the clinic, the dialysis. So if they want to push referrals for services for aging, they can push those to us. And part of that grant package was working with the technology company Monami, and this is just the order agreement for us to work with them. And the $25,000 is their portion of that grant funding to help build a data system for us.
How much is our?
We don't have to pay anything, it's all grant. So
Okay.
everything is all grant funding, there's no match to it.
Is the total 30,000?
The total is 80,000.
80.
So the 25 is for this company to help us build the data system. The rest of it is tied up in wages as I work and my staff works with Blue Mountain Hospital and their wages and their IT to get the IT systems to speak together. And all of
Motion?
that was
Any
in the grant
motion?
package.
Motion to approve.
Second? A second? Any further
All
discussion?
grant money.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 25. Thank you.
Thank you. You get me again.
This is the consideration and approval of the San Juan County Mitigation Plan update.
Go ahead.
It is that time that we update our pre-disaster mitigation plan. It needs to be done and approved by 2023. We applied for this grant in November of 2020, and it goes through the FEMA process, which sometimes takes a little bit of time. They have finally approved it, and this is the award document that we need for signature. It is a 2575 share. Our share is 7,500, and FEMA's share is 22,500.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Any further question or comment? There be none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Next,
You're on to commission reports.
there you have it. Mr. Adams, Mr. Maryboy.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I kind of reported on the work of the legislature, and I'll be going up tomorrow to continue or finish out that work, and then on Sunday I'm flying to New Orleans for a training with USIP on liability for the counties, and I don't know, it's just been really busy with the legislature this year for some reason. Mac and I've been going up every week and trying to lobby for the things that will help the county. That's about all I've got to report.
Mr. Maryboy.
Tomorrow, the road department and a few of us are going to be meeting with the IGR Resources Committee in Winter Rock to talk about the roads and the maintenance. And I have a meeting with the Anna Veterans Organization Thursday. And I think the Education Committee has a meeting scheduled for me as well too, so those I'll be doing this week. And next week I don't really have any plan yet, but I came home late last night, and it was quite a trip to St. Louis. Drove all day, all night, and came home late. So most of the time I will be around. So that will be the extent of my report, sir.
Okay. Yeah, tomorrow is the Resource and Development Committee negotiating IGA. So I'll be there. You're going north, right?
Yeah,
So we'll be attending that in Winter Rock. In case you decided not to go to Salt Lake, then we'll be meeting in New Mexico, right across the
I'll go
border.
to Salt Lake.
So have just been working mainly on an organization that we developed, nonprofit for, which used to be a water user association before at Navajo Mountain. We reorganized it and broadened the scope to include hopefully everything under the sky. And we renamed it Non-Sound Development Association. So we submitted a grant yesterday to USDA for $500,000. So and see if we can undertake some major development utilizing our resources. They're idling and hopefully create some jobs.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been doing. And I'm looking at Elaine to see if we could do some of her, use some of her knowledge and education to maybe help us. So that's the extent, and we're downtown community schools also has been reauthorized since last summer, and we are going before the Board of Education, Navajo Nation Board of Education, for the Department of Navajo Dene Education, December, sometime in March, not December. But we got to get all our papers together by 21st of this month. So I'm trying to juggle and organize, get things ready to for our submittal of the packet. So been pretty busy with it.
Are the kids back in school down there?
They are. We're planning on reopening the residential for those that are across the canyon and at distant places. But we are at the same time told the principal to apply full prevention measure all over, not just one area, but the food service and the academic and the residential and so forth. So, and they are well on their way with those practices. So they're doing good, and hopefully we get 1 year or 2 years reauthorization rather than
How about
6
the high
months.
school down there? Is it back in function?
That's the principal there is our in-law. Our principal, acting principal's husband is Mr. Rock.
Oh,
So he's the principal over there. She's the principal over there.
the boarding school, huh?
So we don't hear any arguments. So hopefully everything's in a peaceful state, not like the Russians' invasion to another country. So that's the story of my life. So take it or leave it. Thank you. With that, do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr.
Second.
Maryboy, motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Adams. Let's have a long discussion on this.
Yeah.
You start, Mr. Adams.
Till 5 o'clock? No discussion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carries.
It's irrevocable.
12:30.
Yep.
12:30.
Did I leave you a seat in your lunch bag?
Huh?
Your lunch bag, did I leave a